Okay, 4.3, step 3 here, The Silken Tent by Robert Frost. Let me read it for you. This is an extended simile where something is compared to something else and then is extended for the rest of the poem. So determine what is being compared to what and why you think he may have chosen that particular object. All right, here we go. She is as in a field a silken tent at midday when a sunny summer breeze has dried the dew and all its ropes relent, so that in guise it gently sways at ease, and its supporting central cedar pole, that is its pinnacle to heavenward and signifies the sureness of the soul, seems to owe naught to any single cord, but strictly held by none, is loosely bound by countless silken ties of love and thought to everything on earth the compass round, and only by one's going slightly taut in the capriciousness of summer air is of the slightest bondage made aware. So what's being compared to what? She is as, there's the comparison, in a field a silken tent. We have some inversion taking place here, and inversion is when you switch around the word order in order to make it fit the meter, iambic pentameter. And while Frost in a lot of ways is a very modern poet, he does love his iambic pentameter and likes to stick with it. So it might, we might read it more like she is as a field, or no, not a field, as a tent in a field, right? A silken tent in a field. But at any rate, the comparison is between a woman and a silken tent. And then the rest of the poem describes the silken tent with the reader knowing that the comparison has already been made to a woman, and so each item has some larger figurative significance. Let's take a look at the rhyme scheme next. Here is the rhyme scheme of the poem. And so you can see that it is an English sonnet, and that couplet at the end is the key. But the poem actually fits pretty well into that specific rhyme scheme, that A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G rhyme scheme of an English sonnet. What is unusual is when we start taking a deeper look, right? So the form, when we look at the form, hey, this looks like a regular old sonnet. But then we go a little bit deeper and we start looking at things that make it kind of unusual. We have one caesura in line 9. What about the enjambment? The enjambment is running rampant, isn't it? We've got it in lines 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 6 to 7, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 12 to 13, and 13 to 14. So a lot of enjambment. And then we also have the fact that, look at this. How many sentences are in this poem? Take a moment to determine. Did you figure it out? There is only one sentence. That is a key to understanding how this poem, how its structure mirrors its content. If we have one sentence that lasts 14 lines, that's a long sentence. And it's not a run-on. It is a correctly formatted sentence syntactically, but it does go on and on and on. And that creates a certain feeling. And that's when we get to analysis, right? So that is a key aspect that you're going to want to write about when you write about this poem. But let's tackle some of the basics to make sure we have a literal understanding. First, we have in this poem we've got the quatrains, right? The 3 quatrains and then the couplet. So the first quatrain, the first 4 lines is making a point about this tent that is the extended simile for a woman. She's swaying at ease because the ropes are dry in the middle of a summer day. So she's held up, she's made of silk, and she's held up by ropes that are tied to the ground, like any tent, right? And it's just swaying easily. The second point in the second quatrain is that the central pole that keeps this silken tent up supports her and signifies, represents her resolve, while owing nothing to any one tie. So the central pole holds her up. The ties are also holding her up, because if you just put up a pole and you drape a piece of fabric on it, it's going to fall over, right? It also needs these ties that are tying it to the ground. But it's not just one tie, right? Owing nothing to any one tie. It's all of them put together. Point 3 in the third quatrain is that the central pole is not literally held by any one rope, and instead is tied down by countless ties, 360 degrees around the tent. So it sort of expands on that point too, and says that all of these ties are what keeps the tent up. And then the very last part of the poem is that couplet. And here we have, in the capriciousness of summer air is of the slightest bondage made aware. And we could translate that to, only when the wind changes, and capriciousness, it changes just sort of randomly without there seeming to be a reason for it, does she feel bound or any kind of bondage. So normally she doesn't feel bound, when in actuality she's bound by countless things that surround her. Okay? So how might the structure, the fact that we've got this one long sentence, connect to the idea of this poem? Well, in the same way that we feel like we have a regular old sonnet, we actually have this very complicated sentence that goes on and on. You could count the number of commas that are used, but for 14 lines before it ends, and really has a fairly complicated structure. So in that way, it does mirror the content, because the woman who feels as if she's not bound is in actuality bound all the way around her by an innumerable, a countless number of ties that keep her stuck or up straight. You can look at it either way. All right, I think that should do it for this video. Let me know what help you need from me on these questions, and feel free to work with each other too. Good luck.